Welcome back, members of parliament. Our apologies for that. We are really having some technical issues with the streaming, and it has then been since resolved. I would like to now move over to motion 5, submitted by MP Rolando Bryson. I will read the motion. The Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, January 21st, 2022, considering that government is in urgent need of filling its critical vacancies, that based on answers received in meetings of Parliament, the process for filling some critical vacancies has taken many months and in some cases over a year. Considering that the current policy for remuneration, the LBHAM Bezoldiging, with regards to promoted civil servants, Article 8 omits a fixed figure for what the percentage range increase should be in an event of a promotion, and that the Prime Minister has indicated her intention to fully address the number of servants in an aanloopschaal for more than 1 year, which appears to go against the idea of the use of such a scale as prescribed in the Article 3 of the Bezoldiging LBHAM. Declares that the Parliament of St. Martin support the government and Honourable Prime Minister's effort to fill their critical vacancies in 2022, and that the Prime Minister committed to address civil servant issues with the aanloopschaal. Resolves for there to be a fast-track department policy created for the handling of critical vacancies to ensure that they can be filled within a period of 60 days between when the vacancy is published to when the person is contracted. For the Minister of Azet to have the Ministry review Article 8 of the LBHAM Bezoldiging and consider adding a fixed range to reduce ambiguity in the application of the law, and for the Prime Minister to report back in writing to Parliament regarding the above resolution within 2 months. And it goes over to the order of the day. This motion was supported by my I see signatures again. This motion was supported by my person, Grisha Heilige Martin, Rolando Bryson, MP Brownbill, MP Marlin, MP Duncan, and MP Ludmila Duncan. Oh, this is MP De Weaver. Okay, no names are here, so I'm trying to. So it's MP Ludmila De Weaver and MP Akeem Arundel. Prime Minister, I'd like to give you the floor for you to weigh in on the motions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep it brief. I think we did discuss it long enough during the first and second round, what my intentions are. I might have to get back to Parliament in terms of the timelines, but other than that, the intention of the motion is acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We go over to the voting, and I ask the members of Parliament if they would like to have hoofdelijke stemming or roll call. Can I hear it? Yes, hoofdelijke stemming. Okay, let me choose a number. It will be number 14, and I'd like to ask the member of Parliament if they'd like to motivate before we go to the voting. Is there any member of Parliament that wishes to motivate? Okay, then I start the voting.
Ludmila De Weaver.
4.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
4.
MP Akeem Arundel. 4. MP Siddharth Bilyani.
4.
MP Rolando Bryson.
4.
MP Chanel Brownbill.
4.
MP Solange Duncan.
4.
MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Against.
MP Melissa Gums.
Against.
MP William Marlin.
4.
MP George Ponteflet. 4. MP Rayon Peterson.
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson. 4. MP Angelique Rumo.
4.
MP Grisha Heiliger Martin,
4. Members of Parliament, the result of motion 5 is 12 MPs for and 3 MPs against. This motion is accepted. I would like to now go over to motion number 6, submitted by MP Rolando Bryson, and I will read as follows. Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, January 21st, 2022, considering that the Minister of VSI by Ministerial Regulation AB 2024 number 44/44 has provided the legal means for businesses to test their workers for COVID-19 in the event an employee is not vaccinated. That some employees are reporting that they will see reduced work hours, receive threats of immediate dismissal, or even immediate dismissed due to their non-vaccinated status. That vaccinated status does not constitute grounds for urgent immediate dismissal as prescribed in the National Ordinance Termination of Employment, nor under Title 5 of the Civil Code, Book 7A. Considering that the Minister has further stated that if it is a promotion aspect where you are promoting your employee to be vaccinated, I am for it. But it is illegal to tell them that if they are not vaccinated, that they will not be employed or they will be fired. Declares that the Parliament of St. Martin denounces the practice of immediate dismissal of employment agreements for which the reason for dismissal is the non-vaccinated status of employee. Resolves for the Minister of VSA to periodically remind the public of their rights as laborers, including their right to receive a free legal assistance to challenge threats of dismissals related to these vaccination status as prescribed by the National Decree regulating free legal assistance. And it goes over to the order of the day. This motion was supported by MP William Marlin, MP Rolando Bryson, MP Chanel Brown-Bill, myself, MP Grisha Heiliger Martin, MP Ludmila De Weaver, and MP Akeem Arundel. Minister, I'd like to give you the floor to give your comments on the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, honorable members of Parliament. This motion has my support. It is always the way that we viewed the practice of businesses. It is not tolerated to fire persons based on vaccination status. So it has my support. I would also like to point out that it has my support up to persons or a verdict of a court case where we would then set precedent moving forward. So if there's any situations, I would like to encourage persons to make their complaints at the Labor Department. There is legal aid in which we can assist in having a court case and awaiting the outcome of this verdict. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We go now over to the voting for motion 5, and I ask the members of Parliament if they would like to have hoofdelijke stemming. Of motion 6, sorry. Hoofdelijke stemming, okay. Let me grab a number. We will start at number 2. Completely forgot to ask the Member of Parliament if they would like to motivate their vote. Any Member of Parliament would like that? I see a few, which MP Chanel Brown-Bill, you can have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe the motion sends a strong message that can encourage people not to discriminate and hurt other employees because of the vaccination status. So I vote for, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Brown-Bill. MP Rayan Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening to all the ministers present and to my colleagues, everybody else. Madam Chair, I believe this is an empty motion. As we heard the minister already say that this is part of his ministry's take on vaccines. And also, I do not see why a motion in a public meeting for the minister to remind people of what is already established in law would be necessary. Therefore, I won't be supporting the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Peterson. MP Westcott Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and a good evening. Madam Chair Lady, I think this is the appropriate moment for me going through these motions, which, in my opinion, some of them are definitely superfluous. But yeah, if you have especially coalition members who wish to publicly instruct or give their ministers an instruction, I mean, that's up to them. But the point that I wanted to make here on the motivation is my reasoning usually for voting for or against a motion. One of the first things is that I must be able to take note in a timely fashion of any motion, amendment, etc., coming from any member of parliament. In this particular case, I commend the fact that the voting has been put until today. So basically, we had all of these motions and amendments, and we had time to peruse them. The verbiage is also important for me. How do we word a motion? Because that's important. The legality of what is being asked of government, and then you have motions that I consider are actually toothless, but are also harmless. And depending on who it comes from, etc., I will decide how I vote on a motion like that. But I think it's important to establish that, and so that we don't get carried away with some of these motions and go out there and say, we instruct the minister to do this, and and it's going to happen, because that is not the experience of working with motions. If we really want to see something happening coming out of this motion, then our job as members of parliament start only now with respect to what we're asking and instructing, etc., etc. I needed to make that clear here as before we continue on with the other motions and amendments, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott Williams. Any other member of parliament wish to have the floor for motivation? I see no need, so let's go over now to the voting of motion 6.
MP Akeem Arundel,
For.
MP Siddharth Bilyani,
For.
MP Rolando Bryson,
For.
MP Chanel Brownbill,
For.
MP Solange Duncan, MP Christophe Emmanuel,
Against.
MP Melissa Gums,
Against.
MP William Marlin, MP George Ponteflet, MP Rayon Peterson,
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson, MP Angelique Rumo,
For.
MP Ludmila DeWeaver,
For.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams,
Against.
MP Grisha Heiliger Martin,
4. Results of motion 6 is 11 members of parliament for and 4 members of parliament against. This motion has been accepted. I now go over to motion 7 presented by MP Rolando Bryson, and I read as follows. The Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, January 21st, 2022, considering that the U.S. preclearance is a priority item in the governing program, the various reports, including the latest central bank on the prospects of the U.S. preclearance, the increasing competition we will face from surrounding islands and their expanding airport facilities and growing popularity, declares that the Parliament of St. Martin supports the government's mandate to the preclearance work group as referred to in Budget Debate 2022 to outline a viable path to the preclearance for country St. Martin in a feasible and responsible manner. Resolves for the preclearance work group through Council of Ministers to send quarterly reports detailing the progress of St. Martin's path to the U.S. preclearance and to be handled by the Parliamentary Committee of TIAT, with the first report due March 31st, 2022, and it goes over to the order of the day. This motion was supported by myself, MP Grisha Heiliger-Martin, MP Rolando Bryson, MP William Marlin, and MP Akeem Arnell. I would like to now give the floor over to the Minister of TIAT to give his comments on the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to you and honorable members of Parliament. The motion do have my support. The motion helps in clarifying where we stand as a country as it relates to U.S. preclearance and gives a clear mandate from Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I'll go over now to the voting and ask if there are members of Parliament who would like to have hoofdelijke stemming. Yes, I would ask the members. Let me choose a number first, and then we'll go over to motivation. I'll choose number 11, and I'll ask the members of Parliament who would like to have the floor for motivation. Yes, MP Melissa Gums.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I'll be brief because I think I've highlighted both before and after becoming a member of Parliament the reasons why I don't agree with the discussion of preclearance being a priority for Sint Maa at any time. If we consider the existence of global entry, TSA pre-check, one might argue that preclearance as an initiative is a little redundant. From some of our own decades-long repeat visitors, the cry has been that Sint Maarten should not spend tens of millions on how Americans could get home faster, but rather on why they should want to stay longer. And they continue to highlight what we know should be our focus, in their opinion, as a destination, such as continued beautification, alleviating of our traffic situation, safety and security around the country, and more. So whatever deal was made or whatever money was accepted by whom in exchange for a whole new terminal, the country should not have to pay for that poor judgment. Finally, Madam Chair Lady, I cannot support this motion because I have no details on this work group. And I've learned over the years that when it comes to the airport and tourism, there are some names that keep popping up. And I have a sneaking suspicion that if we were to get the names of the members of this work group, there'd be a few that in fact should be kept 1,000 miles away from PGIA, as they themselves had a hand in bringing the airport to the situation it's in right now. This cycle we seem to be on with the airport has to stop because it does nothing to move the country or the airport forward. So this motion, and in truth, all else related to this obsession with preclearance, does not have my support. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Gums. Is there any other member of Parliament who wish to have the floor? I see MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, like many of my colleagues, I too had asked questions regarding preclearance and especially the government's position and intention with respect to U.S. preclearance. And I was somehow, I got a slightly more feeling of comfort when the minister explained the trajectory. Because I understood the minister to explain that, now I'm saying how I interpreted his explanation. It has been a long time. A lot has happened since. Yeah, while we being the government and the government coalition, might still be in favor of U.S. preclearance, it is important that we get a state of where things stand right now, not a path to preclearance just like that. So with that from the minister, I was like, at least Parliament is going to get a status report. But this is not what this motion is saying. This motion wants a path to U.S. preclearance. To me, there's a step that needs to be taken by government before that. And this to me knocks the wind and the caution and the prudence out of the sails of the minister, and it will not have my support. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. Any other member of Parliament wish to have the floor? I see MP De Weaver, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. When it comes to this motion that we're now busy discussing, it's not a secret that for I think more than 10 years we've discussed this idea of preclearance on Sint Maarten. It came from somewhere, and when you think about the whole idea of preclearance, it comes with an expiration date for the U.S. When I reviewed this, so the fact that it's still on the table, it's a good thing that they're still considering us to have it. Now, I do understand and I respect, of course, as I should, all opinions here, but where I got more comfort was where it said viable path. It doesn't mean it's a must. It's about coming up with whether or not this works for Sint Maarten or not. It's very clear to me, and with that, it will have my support. Thank you.
Thank you, MP De Weaver. I see MP William Marlin. You would like to have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, rightfully so said, pre-clearance has been a discussion for many years. I can remember my first discussions were held back then when we were not even country Sint Maarten yet, but I think it was in 1998 when I traveled with then Lieutenant Governor Dennis Richardson to the U.S. State Department, and we were at that time not on the list. We have had no discussions yet, and worse yet, we were not selected to be one of those countries. At that time, there were consultants coming out of the woodworks offering us to arrange meetings, or others offered to get it done, and at the end, we would pay a fee. There was so much going on. Following that, there have been discussions off and on, attempts off and on, until not too long ago, it landed in our laps. It landed in our laps that we were one of the only Eastern Caribbean country selected as such. We started it, we reached pretty far, and then all of a sudden hurricane came and it all went on a go slow. I, for one, have been asking government, where do we stand with this? Because if we don't want to pursue it, then let's take the decision we are not pursuing it. But don't let us pretend that we are interested in it, not pursuing it, leaving it because somebody else tell us it should not be a priority for us, and to make it sound as if you pursue pre-clearance, you have no regard and interest for airport workers is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Madam Chair, the pre-clearance is something good for the economic expansion of Sint Maarten. If government can pursue it, power be to them. If, like my MP before me who spoke before me said, if it turns out it is not viable, then you drop it and let's move on and probably build some more roads. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP William Marlin. I see that MP Rolanda Bryson would like to have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, much like how the country Sint Maarten cannot create new land, we have a limited amount of space also at our airport. And there's one aspect of pre-clearance that I've mentioned it several times, but it seems to be brushed aside. And that is the aspect that our biggest problem with the capacity of our airport is the fact that the slots, due to the airlines needing to use international slots, they only tend to come between 11 and 4. Pre-clearance opens the use of domestic gates to travel to Sint Maarten from the United States, which makes many more options, not only for the existing airlines to be able to travel and reach here at 8 a.m., or maybe to come in at 9 p.m., spreading the traffic load, easing the burden on air traffic control, but also it allows domestic carriers like Southwest to say it is now viable for me to travel to Sint Maarten. Madam Chair, this is just one of the many things that we are simply asking, please take this into account and carve us a viable and responsible path. So I look forward to this motion and it will have my support.
Thank you, MP Bryson. We now go over to the voting. I will give the floor to the Kafir.
MP Rayon Peterson,
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson,
For.
MP Angelique Rumo,
For.
MP Ludmila De Weaver,
For.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams,
Against.
MP Akeem Arundel, MP Siddharth Bilyani,
For.
MP Rolando Bryson,
For.
MP Chanel Brownbill,
Against.
MP Solange Duncan, MP Christophe Emmanuel,
Against.
MP Melissa Gums,
Against.
MP William Marlin, MP George Ponteflet, MP Grisha Heiliger Martin,
4. Motion number 7. The votes are 10 for and 5 against. This motion is accepted. I would now like to go over to motion 8 submitted by MP Rolando Bryson.
Point of
but-
order, Madam Chair.
Yes, I was about to give it to you, MP
Yes.
Bryson.
Madam Chair, regarding this motion, I would like, with the indulgence of the members of parliament, to inform them of a change, an amendment to said motion, where the word instruct in the resolves has been changed to request. Therefore, that sentence will now read, for the Minister of Finance as shareholder representative of the CBCS to request the CBCS, etc. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Bryson. I will now read the motion. Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, January 21st, 2022, considering that the banks and their policies have become increasingly cumbersome for banking consumers, that the Supreme Court verdict NLHR 2021 number 1652 concludes as follows. The Court of Appeals rightfully took the starting point that on the basis of their social position, banks may also be obligated to offer a payment account for both consumer and legal entities. That, as acknowledged by the President of the Central Bank in their letter of May 7, 2020, none of St. Martin's legislation sufficiently provides the right to have a basic bank account open in a fair amount of time, rules by which the banking relationship can be terminated, rules for publication, transparency, and limitation related to bank charges, and creation of a Consumer Banking Protection Bureau. The legislation geared towards addressing the aforementioned legislation deficiencies drafted in line with Article 71F of the Wet Financial Toezicht, I'm speaking English and Dutch, of the Netherlands and European Directive 2014 number 92 EU, could help hold the bank to a specific standard and solve major issues. That such legislation would require vetting by the central bank to ensure its proper ratification and implementation. Resolves for the Minister of Finance as shareholder representative of the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin to request the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin to prioritize the vetting and/or creation of consumer banking protection laws in such a manner that the 4 key principles stated in the considerations are addressed, and that the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin should submit draft within 90 days of the receipt of this instruction or request. And it goes over to the order of the day. This motion was supported by MP William Marlin, MP Rolando Bryson, MP Grisha Heiliger Martin, and MP Hakeem Arundel. I would like to now give the floor over to the Minister of Finance to give, or to address to the Minister of Finance, yes, to give his comments on the motion.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I think I sufficiently motivated the reason why I would support the motion, and also requested that I'm happy that the MP changed the language in the motion from instruct to request. As I mentioned to the MP, had a good working relationship with the Central Bank, and they've already indicated they started the process already in terms of dealing with the banks. But it doesn't hurt to have that discussion with them, and also on vetting the law. And if not, then, because as I said before, I've not seen the law, but in the case that that doesn't work, that they actually then go and create a law that supports this. And I believe during the budget debate, most MPs showed their displeasure with the current functioning of the commercial banks and that improvements are necessary. That'd be all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister Artwell Arian. I would like to now turn the floor over for voting and ask the members of Parliament if they would like to have hoofdelijke stemming or roll call.
Hoofdelijke stemming, Madam Chair Lady.
Okay, let me choose a number before we proceed to motivation. Number 3. Any member of Parliament wish to have the floor for motivation? MP Sarah Westcott Williams, you have the floor.
Madam Chair Lady, this is one of the motions for which I mentioned earlier that having the opportunity to look at these motions, having the opportunity to hear from the ministers on motions could make a difference in terms of the position of members of Parliament on different motions. In fact, I was the one who asked the minister about this particular motion, and especially the part where Parliament, which I don't believe they can do, is telling the minister that he must instruct the Central Bank of Curaçao and Sint Maarten. And the minister himself outlined the relationship with the central bank, and now I'm understanding that that has been changed to request. And as the minister would be able to attest, that was the issue that I had earlier when I spoke about this motion, and this is one of those that I too would say, yeah, it can't do any harm. If the minister wants to do it, it will get done. If the minister does not believe in this process, next year we're here discussing the same item. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. Any other member of Parliament wish to have the floor for motivation? I see no need. Then we will go over now to the voting.
MP Siddharth Bilyani.
For.
MP Rolando Bryson.
For.
MP Chanel Brownville.
For.
MP Solange Duncan.
For.
MP Christophe
Against.
Emmanuel. MP Melissa Gums.
For.
MP William Marlin. MP George Ponteflet. MP Rayon Peterson.
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
MP Angelique
For.
Rowe. MP Ludmila De Weaver.
For.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
For, Madam Chair Lady.
MP Akeem Arundel. MP Grisha Heiliger Martin.
For. Motion number 8 has been voted 13 for and 2 against. This motion is accepted. The final motion for this evening is motion number 9, submitted by MP William Marlin. I would like to read the motion for everyone. The Parliament of Sint Maarten, in its meeting of today, January 21st, 2022, considering that for the past many years, Turning Point has been providing assistance to citizens affected by substance abuse. Considering that through the assistance of Turning Point, many individuals and by extension their family and the community as a whole has benefited from the care provided. That as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been an increase in the demand for care provided by Turning Point. That in recent discussion with Dr. Lloyd Richardson of Turning Point, it was disclosed that there is a dire need for an increase in the subsidy provided to the organization to avoid them having either to close their doors or in having to turn away many persons who would need their services. It resolves to request the Council of Ministers to prepare an amendment to the 2022 draft budget once approved, showing an increase to the subsidy for Turning Point under budget post 44301-5209 from the amount of 1,248,434 guilders to 1.6 million guilders, and present the same Parliament within 60 days for its consideration and approval, and goes over to the order of the day. Copies of this motion to be sent to the Governor of St. Martin, to the Government of St. Martin, and to Turning Point. This motion was supported by MP Ludmilla Duncan, MP Rolanda Bryson, MP George Pontiflet, MP Hyacinth Richardson, MP Angelique Rameau, MP De Weaver, and MP William Marlin. I would like to give, I think, the Minister of Finance then the floor to, or which one? Which one? Minister? Minister of Justice. No, that was not working. You need to, yes. Minister of Justice, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, for the opportunity, and thank you to MP Marlin, as well as the other MPs who supports this motion. Indeed, Madam Chair Lady, much of what you indicated in just reading the draft motion explains why this is a very important amendment to make. Turning Point is a much needed organization that supports what is a growing phenomenon and situation in our society. You know, just making reference to our youth, if you can recall, there was a lot of postings about students taking narcotics, etc., into schools. And this is spilling over into our society quite in a grand way, that indeed we must have Turning Point continuing their service. Their doors must remain open. And so I am really grateful, for the lack of a better expression, that this motion has been tabled. And indeed, we will do what is necessary to be able to make the necessary adjustments in the days allotted. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In regards to, I'd like to also take a notice on the comments. I don't know if the, MP Saraska made the comments in the break or during the budget debate itself, but the comments in regards to the budget post at VSR, the 230,000 guilders that was put there, I believe he said, since 2 years ago. So I've looked into it, and it isn't being accessed at the moment for the specific reason that it was allotted to 20.4. So in this motion, we would then look to amend the budget, and the 230 that was at VSR for Turning Point to then go on the part at Justice so that they can execute the initiatives that they want to execute. Because I believe the reason for the budget post at VSR was a very specific reason with the little information that I got. That'll be all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ministers, for your comments. I would now like to go over to the voting and ask the members of Parliament if they would like to have Hoofd de Lukke Stemming roll call.
Hoofd de Lukke Stemming, Madam Chair Lady.
Okay, let me grab a number. Number 2, and I ask the members of Parliament if they wish to have the floor for motivation. MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, when this motion came to the floor, I was very critical of it. I am still critical of the way that this has been done. Why? Because it should not set the example that basically outside of the budget that the government presents, who should know the priorities and the need for extra funding, etc., that then individual members of Parliament can basically tell the government, do this. Because Turning Point, a very deserving institution, no two ways about it, but it could also have been, the same process could have been done for any other institution or any other person. So the process. And then, because I had the opportunity, Madam Chair Lady, to do the due diligence with respect to this proposed motion or this motion, it turned out, and which the Minister of Finance referred to, that while we are looking at increasing the budget for Turning Point under the Justice Ministry, which is as would be expected for the justice part of it, the money allocated on the VSA Ministry for Turning Point, the Turning Point has not been getting it. In fact, someone from Turning Point commented that if this money on the VSA budget was being had, by the way, it has been budgeted in 21, again, it's now budgeted again. So basically, we're now being told that if we don't change that, Turning Point probably would not get it still under the VSA budget. So having established that, based on what I told the Minister of Finance earlier with respect to the VSA budget of Turning Point, and the minister's reaction, because now the minister doesn't have to go look for money to cover the proposed increase, because you have that budget there. I know the increase is approximately, what, 360,000, close to it in any case, but the minister realizes that that post on the VSA can be utilized. In fact, if the government starts by paying that money out, Turning Point will be helped a great deal while they're dealing with the increase of the budget part, of the justice part of the budget. So, Madam Chair Lady, I thank you for the opportunity to elaborate on this matter, and I really look forward at the government doing it exactly in that fashion that the minister indicated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. MP Rayan Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep it brief. I don't see the logic in a motion from Parliament going to government, yet instructing them to do an amendment, while Article 86 of our Constitution basically gives us that right. So as an MP, I've heard a lot of criticism to our body as to how we are not doing our job. We don't legislate, we don't have any initiatives, but this seems to me like a sort of a mediocre way to put what I could have done as an amendment onto government, and on top of that, not showing where the money should come from, but basically just putting that in the hand of government again. I won't be the one to vote and set that precedent. Therefore, I won't be supporting the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Peterson. Is there? I see MP William Marlin would like to have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, so when you want to beat a dog, you find a stick just around the corner. Madam Chair, there are many of us who like to do research, and there are many of us who are very swift with, the e-gaming and the e-searching and doing the research in Parliament, and they can tell you how this happened and when it happened. My poor brain ain't fast enough with the e-stuff, but it's greased enough to remember things that have happened in the past. And while there are those who complain today that this is not the way it should be done, and this is not the way it should be done, I'm sure in here there are members who are better than I am at finding things. They would easily pull it up. But I know in my lifetime in this Parliament, not once, but at least 2 times, members of the Democratic Party faction, then commanding, I think, a majority, submitted a similar modus operandi, and it was voted upon. But when this group does it, it's good. And when this group proposes it, it's bad. But Madam Chair, in terms of passing on our job to government, Madam Chair, if you get to hear about something days before or hours before the budget debate reaches a certain level, rather than rushing into preparing a budgetary amendment and having to go look for where you think the money should come from, I could make an amendment and tell government, take the money from marketing tourism, or take the money from renting a building, or take the money from. What this motion is saying to government is, there's a dire need for Turning Point to get extra money. Government, look into your budget to see where you can best allocate this money from. And if the 240,000 that is there and was not used is one way to begin, then we are lacking 120,000. And who best than the government to say, we believe the best place for this to come from is here, there, and there, rather than I telling them pick it out from there. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Marlin. And I see MP Gums went first, so I'll allow MP Gums to go. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, I too, for the similar reasons outlined by MP Peterson and MP Westcott, won't be supporting this motion because at the end of the day, if it was done in the past, to me it was incorrect in the past, and the Democratic Party is not currently in Parliament, and if they lack the ineffective opposition to call them on that particular step, then that is unfortunately in our political history. So, Madam Chair, at the end of the day, the right to amendment is our right. We've had time. I apologize that perhaps there's not enough time to build the amendment. Had we postponed the handling of the budget so that we would be in contravention with the Constitution, we would have had the time to get that amendment done. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Gums. MP Bryson, you would like to have the floor for motivation?
Madam Chair, thank you, and I amaze myself sometime at the inconsistency when at one time it's we are the legislators and we have to take the bull by the horns and we have the constitutional right to change and amend laws. But sometimes, instead of changing legislation, for example, related to VRAMI, then it's okay to pass the buck to the minister. But when it's to help an institution in urgent need, no, we the legislators, we should just do the amendment. Madam Chair, the urgency for Turning Point is very clear. We talk so much in this Parliament about the need to promote mental health. This motion helps. Whether the method or not you agree, the motion helps. And perhaps more consistency may make the government understand where these MPs vote yes, no, do you want ministers to do it? Are you passing the buck? Especially when oneself is supposed to have the skills to legislate themselves. So, Madam Chair, I vote for.
Thank you, MP Bryson. I see there's no need for any member of parliament to motivate. We will go straight then into the voting. I give the floor now to the Griffier.
MP Akeem Arundel.
For.
MP Siddharth Bilyani.
For.
MP Rolando Bryson.
For.
MP Chanel Brownbill.
For.
MP Solange Duncan. MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Against.
MP Melissa Gums.
Against.
MP William Marlin. MP George Ponteflet. MP Rayon Peterson.
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
MP Angelique Rumo. MP Ludmila DeWeaver.
For.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
For, Madam Chair Lady.
MP Grisha Heiliger Martin.
For. Motion 9 has been voted as follows, 12 for and 3 against. This motion is accepted. Before we go over to the voting for the amendments, I would like to take a 2-minute adjournment to just make a quick swap. Meeting adjourned for 2 minutes. members of parliament. We are now going to vote for the amendments, the budget amendments. There are two budget amendments, and I will read a brief synopsis of what they entail. This is the draft National Ordinance Budget 2022 of Sint Maarten, Friday, January 21st, 2022, continuation of public meeting number 8, the amendments submitted by members of parliament. We will now, no, we would have to, 1 minute? Okay. The amendments submitted by member of parliament Akeem Arundel and Rolando Bryson, document number 8, concerning the amendments to the capital expenditure of the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Minister of TIAT, including amendments to the capital expenditure of the Ministry of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure. The members are proposing a reduction to the capital expenditure of the Minister of TIAT in the amount of 600,000 guilders intended for the renovation of the Philipsburg Marketplace, and an increase to the capital expenditure of the Minister of Rami in the amount of 600,000 guilders for the construction of the roads. The amendment submitted by Member of Parliament Bryson, document 9, concerning amendment to the budget across the various ministries. The members of the opinion that the funds should be deducted and transferred from the budget of the various ministries as outlined in the proposed amendment to allow a reduction of 700,000 guilders from the budget of the Integrity Chamber, allowing the Integrity Chamber to receive an amount in line with other High Council of Ministers and a National Ordinance and Integrity Chamber, to provide the High Councils of State and the Social Economic Council extra resources to receive legal advice, to provide the National Security Service, Sint Maarten, and with extra resources for additional legal support to conduct investigation, to assist the Minister of Health, Social Development and Labor with making available rapid tests for retirees in particular, and for individuals who, due to financial struggles, are unable to purchase a COVID self-test. An increase in the budget of the Ministry of TIAT for several efforts to improve aviation in the country, resources for the BAFPOL courses for the inspection service, move the contribution for Carnival from subsidy items to marketing items, considering that Carnival will go on a public tender, to allot the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports additional funds towards environmental awareness in education and among our young people. An amendment was presented by a member of parliament, and according to Article 59, paragraph 2, the Rules of Order, the amendment must be supported by at least another member for it to be handled. So does any other member of parliament wish to support for the amendment? I see two, MP Bryson and MP Bijlani. We go over to the voting of the amendment. And the amendment is amendment number 8, submitted by MP Arundel and MP Bryson, and this can be found under IS 482, Parliament Year 2021 to 2022, dated January 21, 2022. I like to request if there any member of Parliament would like to have hoofdelijke stemming.
Hoofdelijke stemming, Madam Chair,
Yes.
lady.
Let me grab a number based on your request. I have number 3. And is there any member of parliament that wishes to have the floor for motivation? MP Sarah Westcott-Williams.
Firstly, point of order, Madam Chair lady. You read both motions, but we're going to vote on the first one.
I read both amendments, but now we're
amendments.
voting on the amendment by MP Akeem Arundel and MP Rolando Bryson.
Madam Chair lady, my position on the budget is known, has not changed, in fact has been strengthened. However, faced with these amendments, the The proposal is that the money allocated again, because it was also the case in 2021, to renovate the Phillipsburg Marketplace to the amount of 600,000 guilders, and the proposal is that this money be taken off of that post and put to roads under the VROMI budget. So called because the potential of having the marketplace done by the harbor might be there. Madam Chair Lady, reading the harbor's own reports with respect to its finances, etc., I think that what this amendment would probably do, move the reconstruction, the renovation of the Phillipsburg Marketplace even further. I know in the budget it would have to await the approval of the loans, etc., but I have gotten no indication, unless the minister could give that now, that pursuing the route for the marketplace via the harbor is a quicker route and a confirmed route. So, Madam Chair Lady, I await and expect the minister's reaction to this proposed amendment as well, because as far as I can recall, I haven't heard that during the budget debate. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
No, but the ministers are supposed to just give their input on the motions, not during the amendment. So I would like to then give the floor over to MP Bryson, or no, MP Hakeem Arundel, you have the floor.
Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night, Madam Chair, Ministers, Member of Parliament. We are all tired tonight. Minister, I'll give you additional money to fix the roads, especially the Union Road, Welfare Road, all the major roads there, even by Robert Tree Drive, even by Daisy Road, Red Rose, all the roads by Cake House. All these roads need some fixing, check the drainage, do everything what you can. And that's we all. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, MP Arundel. MP Rolanda Bryson, you have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In perusing the budget and the capital expenditures, what I tend to do is I go backwards, various budgets, to observe what are items that we've seen in the capital expenditures that for whatever reason, it could be difficulties not approved by CFT, that they reappear in the budget. Unfortunately, this was one of them. And that is when I pose a question to the ministers, to the minister, are there some other avenues we can seek? Now, yes, if the harbor has a damning or difficult financial report, I don't think any financial report in the country is more negative in terms of the deficit side of things than the country Sint Maarten. So the capital expenditure is far from a guarantee. So for that reason, at first I saw maybe it is better to find another avenue to make this a reality. And in hearing the line of questioning from MP Arundel, where a lot of his concern was, can we find ways to give the Honorable Minister of VROMI more means to actually do it, kind of following his own nota, because he was the first to bring a note of unrising to say, you know what, I'm going to place a lot of my focus in 2022's budget on roads. And the Member of Parliament said, kudos, how can we do this? And that is where I decided to come together with MP Arundel and work on this amendment. So I look forward to the minister having even more resources to fix as many roads as possible, and I will have support, of course. I will support, of course, this amendment.
Thank you, MP Bryson. Any other member of parliament wish to have the floor? I see no need. And we go over to the voting, and I give the floor over to the Griffier.
MP Siddharth Bijlani.
For.
MP Rolanda Bryson.
For.
MP Chanel Brownbill.
For.
MP Solange Duncan.
For.
MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Against.
MP Melissa Gums.
Against.
MP William Marlin.
For.
MP George Ponteflet.
For.
MP Rayon Peterson.
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
MP Angelique Rameau.
For.
MP Ludmila De Weaver.
For.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
Against.
MP Hakeem Arundel. President of Parliament, Grisha Helga Martin.
For. Amendment number 8 is voted 11-4 and 4 against. This amendment is accepted. We go over now to amendment number 9 by Member of Parliament Rolando Bryson, and I would like to ask the members of Parliament if they would like to have hoofdelijke stemming.
Hoofdelijke stemming, Madam Chair Lady.
Okay, let me choose a number. We have number 14, and I ask the members of Parliament if they wish to have motivation. Any member of Parliament for motivation? MB Westcott Williams, you have the floor.
Madam Chair Lady, this to the uninformed eye might seem like the best thing to happen to this budget. Why? Because a much condemned by some institution, such as the Integrity Chamber, cut their budget. They're making too much money. This budget is too high. Madam Chair Lady, where the cut from the Integrity Chamber should go. I mean, I am sure many of us in here could have another listing in addition to what is here, the High Councils of State, the VDSM, the free test kits, the pre-clearance study, etc., etc. And so we could find other areas in the budget where a potential cut in the Integrity Chamber could go. But Madam Chair Lady, the government of St. Martin presented the budget for the Integrity Chamber in its budget. So the government should tell us that's too much money for them. On the basis of what was that amount in the budget approved for the Integrity Chamber? Is it a program? Is this the same chamber that the Prime Minister indicated she has come to, don't want to use words that she didn't say, but definitely to more appreciate the Integrity Chamber. Madam Chair Lady, Parliament has received the report of 2020 from the Integrity Chamber. And I quote from that report in which they stated that the budget, first of all, they don't get the budget that is allocated to them. They don't get it. Secondly, if it was not for the pandemic in which their work was kind of delayed and whatever have you, the budget they're getting is not enough. So, Madam Chair Lady, how could we take a budget that we get from the government? So has the government over-presented the budget for the Integrity Chamber? Then my question would be, which other posts in the budget have been over-presented? Then maybe we should take the time, while we're going to postpone the voting, I hope, on the budget, to kind of review the whole budget. Review the whole budget in terms of over-presentation of budgets by the government of St. Martin. So, Madam Chair, it ain't because of what we think. The government got to tell us on the basis of what did that high budget of the Integrity Chamber was it presented? What is the agreement the government has with the Integrity Chamber for the year 2022? What work are they going to be doing, etc., etc., before I would even consider deciding to cut a budget that the government put forward to the Parliament of St. Martin for the Integrity Chamber and every other institution that the government mentioned in its budget. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Oh, Madam Chair Lady, I'm not finished because that same amendment, Madam Chair Lady, imagine, this is really the part. Now the proposal here is to take the Carnival subsidy from the Carnival Foundation and its post and put it with the tourism office, because after all, what this amount is for marketing. In the elucidation that the Minister of TIAT provided to Parliament, it is stated that while, yes, the intention is to put the marketing of Carnival on bid, that cannot happen until maybe earliest 2023. Madam Chair Lady, check the elucidation. Check what the Minister of TIAT said to the Parliament regarding that amount. Now we are saying, take it from them, put it with the tourist office, because it's going to be put on bid. Who's going to put it on bid? Parliament? So, Madam Chair Lady, I don't know. I don't know where to go with it. Again, a former member of parliament used to say, you know, sometimes you get some cute motions and amendments. Well, we get a few of them here during this budget debate. Again, I want to say the minister wasn't here. I don't know if he heard my words. But the minister said that a carnival, the marketing for carnival cannot be put on bid in 2022. That is why the amount is listed under the Carnival Foundation at this time. And now we are asked to support an amendment that says, no, we're going to put it by the tourist office for 2022. And who will do the marketing for the carnival? Who's the tourist office going to ask to do the marketing for the carnival? Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. Is there any other member of parliament that wish to have the floor for motivation? MP Rolanda Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I want to be very clear, as I was when I presented this motion, this amendment, that this amendment was done under the premise of research that was done in reading the financial paragraph of the Integrity Chamber legislation. That doesn't say this is a guideline or this is what you can do if you want. It states that the Integrity Chamber must moet tussen de 1,5 miljoen en 2 miljoen zijn. That's number one. It further elucidates that due to the similar takenpakket, that they should also be vergelijkbaar with those other high councils and the SER. Madam Chair, I also stated that I think the Integrity Chamber still has time, for example, to adjust their legislation. The government still has 12 months, halfway there through or a quarter there through, to then, based on the interactions and based on their own amendments, perhaps do an amendment to the budget. But at this moment, I felt it prudent to bring them right in between where the legislation of the Integrity Chamber says that they should be. Madam Chair, with regards to that, I'm interested to see all of the call within this same budget debate to say, follow the law. And the law says this and the law says that, to see if we're going to follow the law on this as well. Madam Chair, regarding the Carnival, I've been there because it is understood that the subsidy for the Carnival in the budgetary year goes for the following year, because it's impossible for you to just give something to an organization 2 months before their event. So in the answers, indeed, the 2021 budget was changed in order to make room for 2022 Carnival, which has been confirmed. Carnival will be subsidized for 2022. And as a result of this amendment, consideration needs to be made to create a tour for further handling of Carnival 2023 and beyond. So, Madam Chair, I think this is much needed support for the other high councils who all have come to this parliament. And when I asked purposely the question, what do you think Parliament can do to help you do your work? And all of them stated that one of the areas is additional funding and rechts- en deskundig advies. I'm happy to do that on my own initiative rather than wait on the high councils to ask for more funds. So I look forward to this getting the support of the members of Parliament so that we can bring much needed funds to these areas that I have amended. Thank you, Madam Chair.
MP Gums, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. MP Westcott kind of mentioned everything that I wanted to, but I just wanted to touch again on the issue of Carnival. Carnival being on a public tender, Carnival up for bid, but at the same time, we've passed a motion to try and safeguard our culture and our heritage. And the Carnival event has been highlighted as one of the most critical events related to our culture and our heritage. So to put it up for bid, I'm curious as to what is the plan? What companies are being set up where, for whom to bid on these future contracts? Because if it ends up that Carnival is pitched or bid by a foreign company, then we're back at square one. So it's a little unclear for me, and that's why my status on the budget is well known, but that line is a little ticklish for me, knowing the hard work that SCDF puts in to safeguard our culture and heritage via Carnival. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Gums. Any other member of Parliament wish to have the floor? I see no need, then we will go straight into the voting.
Ludmila de Weaver, Sarah Westcott Williams,
Against, Madam Chair Lady.
Akeem Arundel, Siddharth Bijlani, Rolando Bryson,
For.
Chanel Brownbill,
For.
Solange Duncan, Christophe Emmanuel,
Against.
Melissa Gums,
Against.
William Marlin,
For.
George Pantoflet,
For.
Rayon Peterson,
Against.
Hyacinth Richardson, Angelique Rameau, Quisha Heiliger Martin,
Against. Motion 9 was voted. Oh. Okay, it's getting late. Amendment number 9, submitted by MP Bryson, was voted 9 for and 5 against. This amendment is accepted. Okay. I would like to adjourn the meeting for 2 minutes before we go over to the handling of the passing of the budget. Meeting adjourned for 2 minutes. Welcome back, members of parliament. We have a... Yes, yes. Okay, we have now come to the last part of the handling of today's budget, and which is to pass the national budget. According to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we go over to the voting of the draft national budget stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2022, National Ordinance Budget 2022. We will vote on Article 1 and its attachment, Article 2, Article 3, Article 4, title, Article 5, the title, consideration, the draft in its entirety as modified by the four memorandums of modification and the approved amendments. Does any member of parliament request to have hope to look a stemming? Okay, with that I will choose a number. Number 3. Members of parliament, would you wish to motivate before we go to voting for the budget? Member of parliament, yes, MP Rayan Peterson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For my brief motivation, I'm just going to read a couple of passages from the conclusion received by Parliament today, from the advice from ex-greffier Nancy Joubert in regards to how we are proceeding with this meeting. For the reasons outlined in this advice, it is not desirable, even though possible, for the draft National Budget 2022 to be established and published without the explicit prior approval or permission of the Kingdom Council and Ministers with regards to the deviation. Doing so would mean that Parliament and government are acting in contravention with their own constitution, but also with the Kingdom law. The risks involved with the possible issuance of an instruction for non-compliance with Article 15 of the Kingdom law, or the governor's refusal to establish a draft national ordinance based on Article 21 of the Rules of Order, the rules for the governor of Sint Maarten. And then I go to the last sentence of this 13-page advice that we received today, which says, notwithstanding the foregoing, even though there might be sufficient legal grounds to deviate from the budget standards of Article 15 of the Kingdom Law, establishing the draft National Ordinance Budget 2022 without the explicit prior approval or permission from the Kingdom Council of Ministers is not possible nor desirable. This advice is pretty clear. It is also the reason why I voted no for all of the amendments. And I think that the advice speaks for itself, and I encourage my colleagues to, as per the article in the Constitution that we all actually swore or promised, which partially said that we swore to help uphold the Constitution of Sint Maarten. And I think that in regards to that, if I'm going to vote my conscience, it is going to be a no for me, and I encourage my colleagues to vote your conscience. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Peterson. Is there any other member of parliament that wish to have the floor for motivation? Yes, MP Westcott-Williams, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, Lady, at this time, practically 9 o'clock in the evening, I'm not going to belabor this point with respect to how I feel about this budget and the government's position on the budget. It's the position I started out with at the beginning of this budget discussion last week, Madam Chair Lady. And then I heard an argument brought forward by the Prime Minister earlier, notwithstanding the advice, which we all have, and I'm sure government has as well, that my colleague MP Peterson just read from. And that argument that I heard was that actually the Constitution said, and I'm paraphrasing, that you cannot establish a budget that is not balanced. So we're not going to establish the budget. But Madam Chair, to me, we're digging ourselves with that type of an approach to this matter, we're digging ourselves even deeper into the hole. Why do I say this? So we are going to hold the people of Sint Maarten and everyone else in the only words that I could find to fill my own sentence is voor de gek, because the government is asking Parliament to approve the budget, but then kind of suggesting that they will not ratify the budget. And so what? So who are we fooling? And that's why I use the Dutch adage. Who are we fooling? So the government, after Parliament's approval, is actually saying blatantly, and then we're going to hold on or hold off on the ratification until whenever? Really? Honestly and truly? We're going to then hold off on it and sit down and wait and see how the meeting of the 4th plays out. And when we know what amount of deficit we are allowed to have, is it that what we're saying? I hope I understood it wrong. And if I did, then I stand to be corrected. Secondly, Madam Chair Lady, on this budget, the discussion back and forth between the Minister of Finance and myself regarding the date of enforcement of it. And I expressed on several occasions to the Minister of Finance my feeling that even for the budget, maybe especially the budget, we must include the provision of Article 127 of our Constitution. So the part with the Ombudsman. And I was happy, and I commended the Minister when he said, a note of amendment is on its way, which we received, I know. But the thing is, in that, rather than allowing the Ombudsman the time to vet the constitutionality of the budget, the government is now saying it's a spoedgeval. No, we're going to put the 127, but we're going to use the clause that basically we can't allow the time for the Ombudsman to vet the law because it's urgent. The same budget that basically we're not going to establish. Madam Chair Lady, I rest my case with this budget, and we'll see where the chips fall is all I could say. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. You want to comment? I would give the floor over to MP. Any other MP? Marlin, that would like to have the floor for motivation.
Madam Chair, what I've said it many times, and I will be short this time. Madam Chair, conveniently, there are those who would love to lie in front of the train and be run over whenever the Dutch is up to something, would find the Constitution and everything else that would make the handling of the budget illegal. Madam Chair, it is no longer a matter of what the Constitution says. We have to look in the broader context in which all of this has happened. The State Secretary can't get his way, so I'm going to punish Sint Maarten. And what do? Oh yeah, the Dutch has spoken, so let me behave myself. Madam Chair, I'm not misbehaving. There's a budget before us. I have handled the budget, and I will vote for the budget. If State Secretary Knops wants to take us to court and lock us up, be my guest. But I will vote, and I will vote for this budget.
Thank you, MP Marlin. I see that MP Melissa Gums would like to have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. MP Peterson and MP Westcott Williams essentially said, a mouthful, and much of what I concur with. Madam Chair, this may be just is this the second, third budget we're involved in since being elected? But I have watched, as many others have watched, from a distance before coming to Parliament, and I just wanted to issue not the warning, but the caution. Politics on St. Martin is cyclical. We go through a cycle where those who are over there across from me now, sometimes I'm back where I'm sitting right now, and I just hope that their political memory is long in the future so that they remember that it was said here that right now it doesn't matter what the Constitution says. Right now it doesn't matter. State Secretary Knops is no longer the State Secretary, and indeed we're hoping that the relationship will improve, but at the end of the day, like I said earlier, the ends do not justify the means. If you circumvent the Constitution now, if we put our proverbial knee on the Constitution now, what are we saying to others in the future, whether we remain in the constellation that we're in or in the future as an independent country? These are the types of things that we need to be thinking about and not living in the past and holding on to personal grudges or whatever other childish tantrums that we ourselves sometimes throw in here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Gums. Is there any other? I see. Yes, MP Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we will be voting now, the only time we shall be voting on the budget. And that vote will be on the record indeed. And I too hope that the memory is long for those that vote against teachers getting paid, against the police getting paid, against civil servants getting what they need, against ATC workers getting the legislative changes they need. That memory too will speak for itself. I will be affixing my vote to this because I support what this budget is going to do for St. Martin, and I support the legislative process that will continue to ensure that all steps necessary are followed before this law is ratified. So for that reason, I will be voting for.
Thank you, MP Bryson. Is there any other? Yes, MP Christophe Emmanuel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady. I was quiet all evening because I waited for this moment. Madam Chair, it's not much of the Constitution and whether the budget is legal, not legal, or whichever way it should go as to why I am voting against, regardless to whatever it is I would have voted against anyway. But Madam Chair Lady, my issue that I have is trusting this government. And added to that is trusting the Parliament, those in charge or those who assume to be in charge, the Presidium. Madam Chair Lady, documents was hidden, documents was held back. I want to present something, and I hope the camera could pick it up well. Madam Chair, when Parliament says that documents was placed on a table, documents was placed on a table, and they can't remember that it was placed on a table, I have to question that. I have to question the trustness. How in the world, Madam Chair Lady, you can have the personal secretary of the former chair, say, I either put them in his hand or placed on the table. This was in 2020. So in other words, the former chair didn't go into his office from since 2020 when he was removed as a member of Parliament. As a president of Parliament, sorry. Look at the documents. These are the documents here. It's not one page placed on his desk. Parliament don't know where it is. They disappear. He never seen them. And the Parliament goes along with it. And then today, from the beginning of the budget discussion, Member of Parliament, MP Westcott Williams, have been asking about advice, discussing the budget, whether it's legal, whether it's not legal. Parliament received advice from the 7th of January. From the 7th of January, 3 members of Parliament in the Presidium saw it, and they make a decision for all the other members of Parliament that, oh yeah, you know what, they don't have to see it. When do we get it? Today, on the 24th. On the 24th, So what you have? Hiding documents, misplacing documents, lying about documents, but it's a gang of lies. That's what it is. You can't trust the government. Can't trust the government. Can't trust the support in Parliament. They hide documents, misplaced documents, booked in documents. It's amazing. Now, they know about ATC workers. Now, they know about it. You brag about being the longest serving government from 2020. They're having this problem from 2018, 2019, 2020. Now because it's a hot topic issue. ATC workers, but what about the civil servants? What about civil servants? Indexation back from 2012. What about that? That's the reason why I can't trust this government. Madam Chair Lady, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Emmanuel. Is there any other member of Parliament that wish to have the floor for motivation? I see no need. Then we just go over then to the voting, and I give the floor to the griffier.
MP Siddharth Bishlani.
For.
MP Rolando Bryson.
For.
MP Chanel Brownville.
For.
MP Solange Duncan. MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Against.
MP Melissa Gums.
Against.
MP William Marlin.
For.
MP George Pontiflet.
For.
MP Rayon Peterson.
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
MP Angelique Remou. MP Ludmila De Weaver. MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
Against, Madam Chair Lady.
MP Akeem Arundel.
For.
President of Parliament Grisha Heiliger Martin.
For. Members of Parliament, the draft has been accepted with 9 members for and 4 members of Parliament against. According to Article 88, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Sint Maarten, Parliament shall notify the government that Parliament has approved this budget law in its public meeting. I would like to thank the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Ms. Silvera Jacobs, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Artwell Arian, the Minister of Justice, Ms. Anna Richardson, the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, the Minister of Health, Social Development and Labor, Mr. Omar Otley, the Minister of Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Mr. Egbert Duran, and the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Mr. Roger Lawrence, and their support staff for such great support and their presence here today and for providing the necessary information for the budget. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this meeting, and I thank you all for your participation. Have a safe drive. This meeting is closed.